Okay.
OS has got it, and I have to say got it, and I've got it.
There you go. Okay. Have you got it now?
I've got it.
Okay, right. Fantastic. Okay, well, listen, thank you for joining us. Um, this is Keith Rosal. I run a sales training company called Sales Marvel, and I'm thrilled to be joined. Well, whether he's thrilled, I don't know, but I'm really thrilled to be joined by Gavin Mist. Now, just before Gavin starts talking to us, we're talking about LinkedIn photos today and what makes a good shot. And first of all, if you like this video, hit like, subscribe, all those things. That would be fantastic. So back to LinkedIn videos. The reason I thought I knew something about LinkedIn photos, what makes a good photo, what doesn't make a good photo. But I was on a call, I think a networking call, a few months ago, certainly before Christmas, and I shared screen with a LinkedIn photo that I knew of someone, and I said, "And this is why I like that shot." And Gavin was courageous enough to put his hand up. And first of all, Gavin, I hope you won't mind me saying, but you have been in this business, in the videography and photography business, for about 30 years, and about
Yeah.
as long as I've been in sales. And so Gavin has an opinion which is actually worth something. He used a new word on me, compositional, which is I had to go look it up afterwards, which is fantastic. And he challenged me about this photo, and that's what. And I thought, actually, do you know, that is a really good insight, and that led to, you know, thinking about, let's put on a session here and just kind of see what comes out of it. So I really hope you like this. I really hope it's informative. The great thing is you won't have to listen to me for too much longer. I'm going to hand it over to Gavin now. Gavin's going to talk us through. I'm going to interject with a couple of questions, and I really hope you find this kind of engaging, but most of all, useful and helpful as well. So Gavin, over to
Yeah.
you.
Thanks, Keith. Yes. Well, yes. Hi, everybody. Um, yes. Well, it was quite interesting to have that little discussion and have that opportunity to interject on the photo that you talked about. And but it is something that we, in thinking about the LinkedIn profile. So if I just share a screen now. Yeah. Okay. And then I need to go
There we
to.
go.
There we go. And I have to press there, press play. Yeah. Right.
Right, I can see a logo.
Okay. So we can see that now. That's fine.
Yeah,
Okay. So one of the interesting things about LinkedIn is that, well, when we think about pictures, we're so used to seeing pictures on screen, in art, on television, cinema. And one of the common things about that is that the scenes are rectangular. Our computer screens are rectangular. Our phone screens are rectangular. Our cinema screens are rectangular. Television screens are rectangular. You go to an art gallery, most of the art there, paintings, are rectangular. But one of the interesting things about LinkedIn is that the profile, the area for the profile photo, is circular, and so that can gives us a number of interesting problems when wanting to fit in a photo of ourselves for the profile. And I thought that maybe I would like to have a photo of myself on my LinkedIn profile. I'm a photographer, and so I wanted to use this photo, which is me holding my camera. Um, but immediately I have a problem because it has to fit into that circle, and there we see that's we've got a problem there, because first of all the photo is taken portrait format, which means that it doesn't actually, in order to fit my face and the camera into the circle, we see the edges of the photo, so that doesn't work very well. That looks untidy, and looks odd, really, particularly when you get it onto a small page
yeah,
on the actual LinkedIn page. And then the other problem is that we also, as we've now got it down to that sort of size, we can see you can see my head at the top of the circle. We can just about see the camera at the bottom. and there's this huge sort of nebulous space in the middle, which is made of my shirt, which isn't doing anything. It's not telling the viewer anything about me. It's just saying that I'm wearing a black shirt. And so, really, compositionally, that photo is a problem.
What
Uh,
about sorry, Gavin,
yeah,
to
sure.
jump in there. So you're right. So your face isn't big enough for the
No,
so you're further away. So that's one thing. But also, is there anything with the fact that you're looking to the left?
yeah, that was another point I was going to make. Was the other problem with that photo for me is that um, I'm looking right to left, and so I'm looking out of the page. All LinkedIn profile um, photo, the area for the profile photo, are on the left hand side, and so ideally you want to be looking the other way because it's much more satisfactory to be looking into the page rather than out of the page. It looks odd. It jars with the viewer,
Yeah.
and so we need to maybe reconsider which photo we're going to use. So we've got this one, which I took at the same session of myself, but without the camera. And here we've got the opportunity then to zoom into my face. So if we then overlay the circle, we can now see that I can fit my a much larger area of my face into the circle,
Yeah.
plus a little bit of shoulder. And
Can I
then
make a sorry? Can I just
yes,
make a comment there, Gavin?
of course,
Also notice, and I'm putting you on the spot here, but I also noticed that your face isn't right in the middle of the photo. It's slightly
that's
to
true.
one side. Why?
Yes.
Why is that?
Well, I think that's because in sort of I'll go back to the full shot. In compositionally, it's better in any sort of photograph if you're doing a portrait of somebody or a photo of somebody to have them slightly off center. It's you'll see that a lot. We use it in video as well for doing a video interview. People don't are not usually put right in the center of the frame because it just looks it's too symmetrical. If you look if you'd even look on any sort of documentary program where there are interviews with people or talking head videos, you'll see that usually people are put to one side or the other. And then in photography, we had this thing called the rule of the thirds. So you put interesting detail a third of the way in and a third of the way up or down. And then with portrait pictures, profile pictures, the most important part of the face are the eyes.
Yeah.
And so it's usually sort of common practice to put the eyes somewhere on the third. We're probably getting a little bit off track now, but a little bit sort of technical. But
Oh,
that's a point to bear in mind. And I think that's why the photos that I take usually are slightly off center. Uh,
brilliant.
and
Okay.
it's quite satisfactory to the eye, really.
Yeah.
Um, so if we now sort of take that photo, we've cropped it into the circle, and now we see that on the profile page, we can see that it works a lot better. As you say, I'm slightly off center from the circle. I'm looking into the page, but I'm also looking at the camera. Um, and also my face is bigger, so anybody who wants to do business with Gavin Mist can see immediately who they're dealing with.
Yeah.
It's my face is there, and it's well lit. It's got an unfussy background, and it fits the profile. It fits the template really of the profile page.
It's a really good point. I must say, by the way, that what I would call the banner shot, your background shot there with the landscape.
Yes, it
Is
is.
that
Yeah,
is that one of yours?
it is one of mine. Yeah,
I just thought I'd ask.
thank you.
Is that God's own country there,
It
or
is actually. Yes, it's Littendale in North Yorkshire.
fab? And that therefore is what I'm gonna. This is we didn't talk about this, but I do want to talk about this. So there's alignment between what you do for a living,
Yeah,
videography, photography, and that shot. So often people will come on LinkedIn, they'll have their photo there, which may be brilliant or not. But the banner ad, they'll often have their holiday shot or a nice sunset or something like that. But it might be, and that's fine if you're a photographer and that's what you do, and it's a lovely photo and all that. But if you're not a photographer, perhaps you're in IT, you're in sales like me, you're missing a trick by that banner shot. That banner shot ideally needs to be aligned with what you do for what I would call proper visual impact, because we've only got a very short period of time between when someone clicks on your profile or a post that you've made on LinkedIn, and whether they decide to, oh, that's interesting, or whether they decide to keep scrolling. You've got, we talk about the 3 second rule. You talked about the rule of thirds on your photography, but we talk about the 3 second rule when it comes down to the psychology of what makes a good post or an engaging post. Sorry, Gavin, I got off track a little bit,
No,
but
not at all.
I
No.
just thought the alignment thing was highly
Yeah.
relevant.
Do you want me to come out to the share screen now?
Yeah, it's your session, so do whatever you like. Yeah.
Okay. Well, okay. Maybe we could just sort of pick this up. Yeah, I think that I would sort of just um, echo what you said about the banner shot.
Yeah.
So whereas I had my first idea was to have the picture of me with my camera, and so I tried to do in one photo what I do. This is me and what I do, but it didn't work compositionally. But then we can use the banner. I could have, well, I've used one of my landscape photos, but I could easily have used another photo of me holding my camera, which I could have used as in the banner, and maybe had myself on the right hand side looking. So I could maybe have used that same photo, or maybe done a bit of work, edited something with it to make a kind of make a composition, some sort of composite image that featured me holding my camera and
Yeah.
maybe some of my work in sort of interspersed with it.
It's a really good shot, but and you could do that, but I would say, looking at that image on screen at the moment, especially where you've got Gavin Mist Photography and Media Services there, I think that
Yeah,
that point is actually made in
yeah,
literally in black and white
yeah.
on the screen. So I think it feels perfectly natural and authentic.
I think for somebody who is in whose business is image creation, then the banner is there to be used as a sort of showcase for sort of sample work. So I could
Yeah,
change that to either to another landscape, or I could do it as a product shot,
yeah.
something like that. So it would be I've got the opportunity to immediately sell my services through the banner.
Exactly. That's a really good chat. Actually, you've reminded me that I ought to update my own banner shot, which I'll probably do immediately after this this session. Brilliant. That was good. Is there anything else you want to?
Well, I don't know if that as this perhaps a general point, and this I'd sort of throw a question back to you then, Keith. Is the with the banner shot, is it something that should be changed quite regularly to keep so that it's a different picture on a more regular basis, so it keeps the interested people who come back return to your profile.
Yeah, that's a really good point, actually, and thanks for putting me on the spot there. I the answer I would give is: does it add value? Does changing it take you closer to your goals or further away? So I would say only if it is going to advantage you in some way. Now, it used to be, and I am going back 15 years, I've been on LinkedIn since 2004. Um, but it used to be when they were trying to get um, more people on the platform, there are probably less than 1 million people using the platform. They used to, in your feed, it would be, Gavin has updated his profile shot. You would get notifications like that. And so at that point in time, it would have been advantageous if you've changed your banner shot. It would have heightened your profile, if you like, and brought your profile to more attention in the dreaded algorithm that we're going to
Mm.
talk about. Now, there are tricks that you can do that now, and I'm getting a bit off topic, but since we mention it, So I would change the banner shot if perhaps you're changing your product mix, perhaps there's a new product, or perhaps if in your world photography, if you were taking up I don't know, Airbnb type, hotel type shots or food. I know you've done food. Uh,
I've done some film. I'm not a specialist food photographer, but I have done some.
Indeed. And if that was a direction you wanted to move your business in, yeah, absolutely change
Yeah,
it because that again, people would
yeah.
say, "Oh, that's interesting." Um, People will get it if the first time they've landed on your profile, they'll go, "Ah, that's interesting," or as importantly, if they know your profile and then you've changed it, it will be that would probably warrant further intrigue or further
Mm,
investigation. Someone saying, "Oh, is Gavin moving his business on?" And I know someone who's looking for food product photography, um, and maybe I'll just it's an opportunity to talk about it, and
yeah.
there's yeah. So I would say yes, but if it's to your advantage, if it's purposeful, yeah, that's long answer, short question, but that's what I would say.
Okay. Right.
Um,
Shall I
yep.
stop this sharing it now,
Okay.
which I've done. Come out of there. Right. So we're
We are back on full screen.
back on full screen. Okay.
Some really good stuff came out of that. Is there anything? We're just talking now.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you wanted to mention, or is there anything I should have mentioned that I didn't?
Um, don't think so at this stage. Although probably when I see that back, I should probably be horrified.
Yeah. Okay. Well, look,
Um,
I'm just gonna have a look down the list here. As I say,
yeah.
just in case.
Well, I think at this okay, well I mean yes, we are going to edit this, aren't we? So that's fine.
Yeah.
You talked about using a selfie. Um,
You. Yes.
a selfie and well, I think probably selfies aren't good profile photos for a number of reasons. And one of the points that you've made is that they don't look natural because you're usually holding the phone at arm's length. And the other point that I would make is that usually phone lenses are of a wide angle type because they take in a lot, and the problem with a wide angle lens used quite close to a face is that it tends to emphasize chins and noses. And I've got a big enough nose as it is without it being blown up even more by a wide angle lens. So, when you get near to the lens, your facial features get distorted. And that is a problem. That's one of the other technical problems with a selfie.
Yeah.
Having said that, it's not to say that you can't use your phone to do a profile shot. If you can set the phone up somewhere um, and then stand or sit in front of it
On
uh,
a tripod.
on a tripod or stand it up on a table, um, but just to make sure the phone is fixed and then and then don't get too close to it
Yeah.
so that you're a bit of a way back because then you can crop into it to get the close up of your face,
Yeah.
and then you won't get that distortion. And there's with modern phone cameras, the resolution is sufficient to be able to blow up
The image. Yeah.
the image without it looking horribly pixelated when you get it on. And it's very very small on the LinkedIn page, as we've already said.
Yeah.
Having said that, as a professional photographer, it would be much better to go to a professional and get a decent profile photo done. It's worth the
Yeah.
investment.
Well spotted. Yeah, good shout. The other thing is, and somewhat jocular, but actually there is a serious point to it. Is I still haven't mastered the art of taking a selfie. You can't avoid the shoulder raise,
Yeah,
but some of my tongue always sticks out. And I've got some stupid facial expression when I'm taking it. even more stupid than normal. I just can't kind of balance that. So I do take selfies, but only for LinkedIn posts if there's something interesting in the background, and that's the point.
Sure. Yeah.
And but not for the profile shot. That doesn't. But the other
Mm.
thing is, I also spotted that people seem to take them in the again, it's a selfie, but they'll take it in the car. So you've
Yeah.
got a picture of a head. Well, it seems weird.
Yeah.
I,
Well, yeah, I mean, it is. Yes, I mean, sure we've all seen lots of sort of strange profile shots on LinkedIn and other social media, and I think it is different. I mean, it might be a photo that it looks okay on Facebook because Facebook is a social thing, isn't it? It whereas LinkedIn is a business communication medium. It's different to Facebook. You're you're selling yourself to potential contacts, potential customers,
yeah,
business associates, and therefore what goes in something like on something maybe like Twitter or X or Facebook doesn't apply to LinkedIn. I think it needs a different. You need to think about a different approach for LinkedIn.
yeah. To use the pun through a different lens.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. You're allowed to smile at that point, by the way, because that was quite funny, even for me. Okay,
Yes. Yeah. You love
okay.
that.
Excellent. Delayed reaction is that's okay. That's okay. Thank you for that. The other thing is, oh, I'll tell you something else. And so on my home setup, so this is not with an iPhone or whatever, but the webcam that I've got is quite a good one because I do a lot of this. It's actually situated slightly above my eye line here. So it probably looks natural. Hopefully, it looks natural enough. But my face is actually looking up slightly,
Mm,
and it reduces the size of my second chin. So it's not quite so. You talked about wide angle lenses too close up, distorts.
yeah.
It's much better to be like that than
Yes,
it is for me to be
it
100
is.
down the
The
front.
same. I think the same. I mean, the same applies to webcams as it does to
Yeah.
phone cams.
Yeah, that's a good point. The last point I've got written down here is oh, first of all, because I notice your background, York Minster is fab. Your background is black and white. Do you want to talk about black and white versus color?
Um, yes, I don't. Yeah, it's the interesting thing about the black and white. I have noticed. I mean, I don't use a black and white photo on my profile, but I've noticed that a lot of creatives, media people use a black and white photo.
Yeah,
Um, and I think it kind of does have that sort of feel to it that by using a black and white, you're saying that you've thought about your picture a bit more and that you're somehow a little bit more creative. Um, I don't know if that's maybe just probably a subjective thing on my part, but it is some of those sort of things I've noticed. But I've absolutely no problem using a black and white. It can work very well, as well as a color one. And I think just maybe just a bit of an offshoot, really, on in terms of color. If you're thinking about your profile photo, think about what you're wearing as well, so that and also the background.
yeah,
If you're because I mean uh if your background is very sort of fussy, I mean, for instance, this York Minster shot as a background wouldn't be very good as the background to the profile shot, I think, because it's too distracting.
yeah,
If it was out of focus, it would probably be okay. So if it could be if the background can be blurred, that would be better. um So yes, I think there's things like that that need to be thought about. But yeah, in terms of using color or black and white, no, I don't think there's any sort of any particular reason to say yes or no. I think both work equally well. But I think the same comments apply that the background needs to be very unfussy.
I think that's a really good point about background unfussy, because you want people. What do you want people to focus on in the photo? Is it you,
Exactly, it's you.
or is it background?
Yeah, it's
So
you.
really good point. The other point I would make, and this is around psychology or selling, if you like, is there's 930 million people on LinkedIn right now, and if they're all doing the same thing, you're not going to stand out no matter
Mm,
how good your photo is. And so for me, black and white can be a way of differentiating
sure.
yourself. And it is more, as you said earlier, people have thought about it a bit more. It's more eye-catching, therefore, probably, if it's done
Mm,
correctly and you've used a professional, hopefully, for your shot. So I think that's probably a point worth bringing out. One last point on this. I've really enjoyed this, Gavin. Thank you ever so much. One last thing is, because we cannot talk about photos or business or whatever without talking about AI.
yeah.
And I'm going to put you on the spot here. Do you have, and it doesn't even matter if the answer is no, because it's so new. Maybe
Mm.
the jury's even out. But do you have any thoughts on use of AI and imagery
Um, I
or
don't
profile
at this
photographs?
stage. I don't really have, because I don't know what it is capable of doing.
Yeah,
So I need to look into that a bit more to find out
yeah.
what it's. I mean, I do have some software that I use, which is AI based for pulling back photos that are slightly unsharp, and
Oh, really? Okay.
it's got a very very good algorithm that sharpens photo. Whether maybe an autofocus is slightly missed, or
Yeah,
a bit of motion blur, it will pull that back, and it does it very effectively. It won't rescue a shot that is completely out of focus, but when things are just slightly off, it will
yeah,
pull that back and does it well. And there is other AI software programs that will deal with upscaling and that sort of other sort of technical stuff on photos.
yeah.
But I think I need to look into more what it can do in terms of a profile photo. Whether it can probably is out there that it can change your appearance. But then the degree to which you want to do that is up subject to debate, I think.
Well, actually, you've hit the nail on the head. For me, it needs to be authentic,
Yeah,
because we are talking specifically not about
yeah,
photography in general. We're talking about specifically about LinkedIn photo shots. Am I
yeah,
going to recognize you in reception if you're
yeah.
going to meet me at the
I
office?
think to some extent, I'm just going to sort of throw this one in. Where people have had it, I don't know if perhaps it's so popular now, but look, it was a while ago. People did makeover shots, and they would go to a studio and have a professional photo taken, and but they would have a lot of makeup put on, and a lot of time was spent on making them look, and in some cases made people look a lot younger.
Yeah.
Um, and it was great. I mean, it made people feel good about themselves. It has they were like Hollywood style photos, studio photos, but they look nothing like the person in reality. And I think I would also say that maybe that wouldn't be such a good idea to use one of those photos as a profile, much as you might be proud of it and it made you look really good. It's not what the person you then subsequently meet is going to see.
Indeed. And and that again, really good point. Talks to the point of authenticity. Um, and yeah, is it the person you're going to meet in reception? And if I come down to reception, and I know this is a pretty sensitive area because I'm a white bloke with grey hair, um, uh, and it's probably a lot easier for me than, shall we say, um, someone else that's not. There are still what am I saying? There are stereotypes and there are certain social pressures for you to look a certain
Yeah,
way, and not everyone's comfortable with that, but you've got to get comfortable with it. And it's probably unhelpful to turn up in reception, you actually look very different to your.
Yeah.
It just raises unhelpful questions,
Yeah.
and it probably not very helpful. So anyway, good point, well made. Which I may have messed up in the very end. Anyway, but anyway, so, yeah, it's good. Brilliant. Is there again? Is there anything else you wanted to say,
Um,
or not?
don't think so. We looking at our list. Well, yes, I think you also raised the point about looking into camera. As
Yeah, good shout.
um, my personal feeling is that which I think I've discussed with you before, is that a profile shot is different to a portrait. Now, I think that is something that is a wider subject that is open to a lot of discussion.
Yeah,
But I think that a portrait of somebody is a photograph that, rather like the same as a portrait painting, is there to capture something of the character of the person, and so the pose is very different to the one you would take for a profile photo. Whereas I feel like a profile photo is, as we've said, it's got to make an impact on somebody within a very few seconds. Um, and so therefore it needs to be a much more um, immediate image. And so for me, I think it's important for a profile photo to be looking at the camera, because I think when you click onto that person's, we're talking about LinkedIn, you talk about when you click on that person's LinkedIn page, the first thing you see is them looking at you out of the page, saying, "Hi, here I am, and this is the person you're going to deal with." So that's why I feel it's important to be looking at the camera.
yeah. There's something about trust, isn't there? And there's lots of research come out of Stanford about this. About if you can look someone in the eye,
Yeah,
you're more likely to
yeah,
be telling the truth.
yeah.
If you look down,
Very important. Yeah.
yeah. So so really good shout there. So
It's the same when you meet somebody, you look, when you shake hands with somebody, you look them in the eye, don't you? It immediately you sort of engage with that person.
yeah, yeah, exactly right. Yeah, good shout. I'm glad you brought that up. No further questions, Your Honour. Is that okay?
Right. Okay.
Am I okay to stop
Of
stop
course.
recording?
Everybody, yeah. Okay.